Hello everyone! A few days ago, the brilliant and well-spoken Ariel Bissett put up a video called Are Video Games Literature? And I wanted to donate my 2 cents to the collection plate that is this conversation. So step 1, I think, has to be defining the term literature. What does it actually mean? Well, I have a Random House dictionary. And I quite like its first definition of literature. The next ones are not particularly relevant to this conversation, but I will give it to you. Writings in which expression and form, in connection with ideas of permanent and universal interest, are characteristic or essential features, as poetry, novels, history, biography, and essays. So by that definition, video games cannot possibly be literature because they are not writings. But it's important to remember that dictionaries are descriptive, not prescriptive. That is, they document the way words are used. They are not the gods of the words that hold the meaning, and we must only use the words in those ways. So I think the question we need to focus on is, do we want to change the definition of literature in order to include video games? So we've defined literature. Let's also take a deeper look into video games. There are several different types of things you got going on that you can play on your PS3 or your computer or one of those old school arcade machines. I was not born in the 80s. But some of them I think we can just dismiss right off the bat as not being literature in any useful definition of the word. For example, Pong. Pong is where you play as a little board trying to stop a ball from going off the screen. Oh no, you missed! It is purely a way to exercise a technical skill. It doesn't have a story. It's not dealing with themes. Sorry, Pong, you are not literature. Other games, like The Sims or SimCity, I don't think are video games either. There's no story. In fact, the point is that you can sort of do whatever you want with it. If you want to construct a narrative of your own initiative, you can go ahead and do that, and then we can debate about whether that would be literature later. But the Sims games themselves, not literature. Then there are esports, which are like Dota 2 or League of Legends. And I don't think that those can count as literature either, because even though they sort of have lore and events take place in this battle that you are fighting, they're really just highly complex chess games in which there is a set of moves and you want to find the best combination of moves to achieve your objective. You're not trying to tell a story, and the developers are not trying to tell a story. So I think it would be detrimental to change the word literature to include things like Pong, the Sims franchise, and League of Legends. But what about games like RPGs, where there is a story and you can explore things and make decisions? There's maybe some potential there. But Ariel has already addressed this issue. Any definition of literature which would include things like Skyrim would have to include things like movies, because we're gonna scrap the it has to be written down part of the definition and just focus on, is there a narrative and are there themes and questions that are developed and perhaps answered. So no, I don't think video games can be appropriately called literature. But that doesn't mean I'm down on video games. Let us now look at whether they can be considered art. In order to understand what I'm going to say here, you need to understand my distinction between art and pornography, and it has nothing to do with how sexy it is. Art has a message. The artist is using the attributes of his, her, or their medium to make you think about things in a different way. And they may do this in a way that is pretty or pleasing to the senses. Pornography does not have a message. Its goal is to please the senses. So I consider a lot of classical music to be pornography. It's really nice to listen to, but You're just sort of illustrating the idea through sound of what, like, the beginning of spring feels like. You're not trying to change my mind about anything. So under this definition of art, would any video games count? A couple years ago, I very well might have said no. But then I played Skyrim, and oh, the feels, you guys. So many feels. Skyrim is an open world sandbox RPG, so there's a whole lot of stuff going down that I could talk about, but I'm mainly going to talk about the Civil War subplot and quest line. What you have going on is an imperial army trying to suppress the nationalist rebellion of the Stormcloaks. And at one point, you have to negotiate a temporary truce between the two sides. And I was playing as a character who was kind of siding with the Imperials. And oh my god, it made me think about so many things that I never thought a video game would make me think about. Like, am I supposed to be representing justice here? I mean, I'm in a pretty powerful position. I could just take everything away from the Stormcloaks and make them easier to defeat later on, but I'm also supposed to be the impartial arbiter. Do I have the right to do that? But I can't just abandon the side that I feel is right, even though it has some serious problems. What should I do? It was really difficult. I spent like a solid half hour out of a maybe 12-minute scenario just staring, wondering what I could possibly do. And if that is not art that is making you think about things in different ways and challenging your perspectives, I don't know what is. So in conclusion, video games, not literature. Some video games, art. And I think that that is good enough. I forgot, last minute addition. I'm going to put a link down in the doobly-doo to a video that Vsauce did in which he presents a hypothetical scenario in which video games were invented before books and how the stuffy old people would react to this sort of change and what complaints they might have about books. And I thought that was related to Ariel's video. So you should go watch it.